Accra High Court slaps UTAG with a 3,000 CD cost for failing to file proper processes in the case of an interlocutory injunction brought against it by the National Labour Commission.
Our team of lawyers also made a case regarding the fact that it was a matter of time and what they had provided was acceptable. It was on the basis of that the judge ultimately prescribed a fine of 3,000 for literally the waste of the court's time.
More as the strike by the university lecturers enters day 14 with students bearing the brunt of the action.
We've spent almost 2 years in one level and that is so irritating.
It's really a problem. It's really affecting us.
Our educational system is being played with.
We don't know our left and right. Everybody is stagnant now.
Tonight we asked, will UTAG heed the judge's advice to settle the issue out of court? We'll hear from them, the NLC and government. And top stories brought to you by Gassam, the nation builder, and Vodafone. Together we can. It's been 14 days since they called a strike, and there have been several attempts by government, mainly through the Labour and Employment Ministry, to get them back into the lecture halls whilst negotiating the substantive issue. But the lecturers have remained adamant, even when the court placed an injunction on their industrial action. Today, they were slapped with a 3,000 CD cost by the Labour Division of the High Court for failing to file proper processes and wasting the court's time when the issue was called. Lawyers for the University Teachers Association were hoping that the court will accept their response for failing to file the proper processes. But the court, unconvinced, awarded a cost to UTAG. Dr. Samuel Nkumba is president of the Legon chapter of UTAG.
The legal team for UTAG, as you are aware, on Friday when the injunction was published on social media, we had to hurriedly put together a motion to set aside the injunction that was secured by NLC. And of course, it was weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So my understanding of proceedings is that the validation of the affidavits attached to the application were inappropriate, as they required certain standards. And so our team of lawyers also made a case regarding the fact that it was a matter of time and what they had provided was acceptable. But if it's the case that the court wanted some specifics, they needed time to be able to do the validation as required by the judge. And that was the issue regarding the mode of the way the papers were filed. And on the basis of that, the NLC's legal team was of the view that the court should throw out our motion on the basis of inappropriate validation of affidavits. That was not granted, but of course the judge gave our team the time to be able to make those corrections, so to speak. The legal team from NLC, of course, again, made a proposition to the effect that given the circumstances, we had wasted the time of the court as well as everybody's time for having to come to court, only not for the case to be carried. And by virtue of that, they were praying the court to set charges 10,000 cedis for wasting, quote-unquote, wasting the time of the court and the parties who came. And it was on the basis of that the judge ultimately prescribed a fine of 3,000 for literally the waste of the court's time and all of that. And so the substantive matter was not on the table for consideration.
And so it is not correct that you've been asked to settle the substantive issue out of court?
I mean, it's a legal advice that was given. And so if the two parties would engage and agree to settle it out of court, that is that would be for the parties to engage with.
The advice was given by the judge, you mean?
Yes. And so it is for the parties to consider the advice of the judge. Even if we were to decide that we were going to deal with it outside of the court, then we would still have to go to the court on the 19th to present that to the court.
But whilst you're still in court, isn't it proper that you heed the directives of a court, a competent court of jurisdiction for that matter, to call off your strike and return to the negotiation table? I'm sure the NLC would want to engage you once you do that.
Oh, so it's the question of which one first. Is it the egg or the hen? Because if they are the ones who went to court.
That is the UTAG president for the Legon chapter, Dr. Samuel Nkumbanda, speaking to me. But in all of this, the students are the worst affected. Today, we've been on the campuses. My colleague Maxwell was at the University of Ghana. Maxwell, tell us the mood on campus, and you've been interacting with some of the students as well.
Exactly, and it's a normal day around 1:30 p.m. when you get on the University of Ghana campus, you find a lot of students moving to the major lecture theatre, specifically the Jones County building, the NNB, and all the others on campus. But that wasn't the case today. As we visited, many of the lecture halls appeared deserted. Many of the students were doing their own private studies at their various halls of residence. At the political science and the psychology department, we saw some teaching assistants taking some of the students through what they've studied for the for the semester. And of course, they were waiting for their end of semester examinations. Some of them who we spoke to raised concerns about the timelines and how their plans were going to be affected by this. Some of them told us that they wanted to pursue further studies outside the country, and they were hoping that they'll be able to finish the examinations within a specific time so they can go ahead, get their transcripts on time and all of that. But that looks like it's not going to happen. Many of them also raised concerns about how the COVID-19 pandemic threw the whole calendar out of gear, and now it looks like the UTAC strike is also aggravating the situation. We can hear from some of them.
Okay, so at the moment, it seems like UG is having 2 tracks, which is the double track. Yeah. And for the level 200 and level 300, we are in the house. You're supposed to do the registration somewhere last week, Monday. Okay. But due to the strike, we're not able to do so. Now, our academic calendar has changed. This registration, I had to have my internship. And because of the strike, I cannot more do it because the calendar has changed. And I don't even know whether I should go for it or to suspend it. Because it's really a problem on its own, and it's really affecting us.
It's really terrible. I mean, it has made most of us so stranded. I mean, with regards to the COVID and all that, and now we want to complete the semester. We want to, we don't know our stance. We are just strolling about. You can't even study. Even when you sit down, you just think about the educational system. There's like our educational system is being played with, and it's so hurting. It's so annoying, and it's everything. So I just want the government to do something about it. We've spent almost 2 years in one level, and that is so irritating.
It's been disturbing a bit, in such a way that students don't know where their stand is at the moment. So we are in a state of dilemma as to what the executive board has for us for now.
You see, every semester is a planned semester, and then we have a specific timetable we should follow. And I think there are a lot of people who are also running courses, or they had planned courses, but because of the strike, it's like we don't know our left and right. Everybody is stagnant now, but then I'm just hoping for the better, that everything will be resolved and we will get back to our classes. Yes.
I'm number 400 now, and we are supposed to start our national service in September. But we don't know as of now if we're going to complete before the September.
So those are some of the students there at the University of Ghana interacting with my colleague Maxwell Adod. But we stay at the University of Ghana. My colleague Kweku Asante joins me because there have been some development. We understand, Kweku, that the university's administration tried to organize exam for international students, but the local chapter of UG there protested. Tell us about it.
Right, Ernest. So on the 12th of August, there was a statement from the university sent through most students via the email that they were planning to hold exams for final year students and level 100 foreign students. The university argued that the students needed flights to catch, they had their own arrangements, and so they wanted to do a special arrangement for them. And so they published a timetable and all that. But then University of Ghana UTAG protested, and there's the letter from August 15 signed by Samuel Nkumba, and says, I write to indicate on behalf of the Executive Committee of UTAG University of Ghana that we have not agreed on any modalities for handling our 157 international students in relation to the views expressed by members at our last emergency meeting, as we asked to inform NEC of UTAG and confer with other campuses on how they were handling their situation. A formal letter of request has been received from management, to which we are yet to engage with UG-UTAG Executive Committee and respond. It comes as a surprise that management would issue directives to the effect without recourse to Executive Committee decision on the way to proceed. Whilst we wish to assure everyone that UG-UTAG is not engaged in any form of examinations of our students, we are by this letter asking all members to stay away from engaging any examination relating to international students until you have formal communication from leadership. We remain on the page of withdrawal of teaching and related services as we head to court tomorrow for a determination on the issue of injunction on UTAG action.
So that is the UTAG statement in response to the email that had been in circulation.
Right, that they wanted to organize exams for.
Then the university responded.
Now, University of Ghana has responded just today, this email dated 16th August 2021, saying, with reference to our notice dated 12th August 2021 on the above subject, the university community is hereby notified that the arrangements for the international student examinations have been suspended. The university will continue consultations and update stakeholders in due course.
Let's go on to the phone lines now. We're joined by Dr. Samuel Nkumba, the president of the Legon chapter of UTAG. Many thanks, sir, for your time here on Top Story. Let me start with the very last issue, the update my colleague Kweku Asante brought us. We have heard from university administration on several occasions that aside from the grants that are given to them by various organizations, they mainly run the universities from the monies they get from these international students. And remember that already COVID has disrupted the academic calendar. Why were you protesting the decision to make some special arrangement for these students?
Thank you very much. The reality is that with foreign or local students, our contract with the university, by way of the fact that they applied, got admitted, and have paid fees, and we have a responsibility to them as well. And so the concept of separation, where foreign students should be treated specially, was something that we discussed at a general meeting, and we were going to engage with the National Executive Committee as well as some other campuses to see if there are any concessions given the peculiarities of their situation. And that had not been done. And so what we did was to request of management to give us some formal communication which we could use as a basis. And that was received. We had not, like you rightly read in the letter we sent, we had not responded to them. And then the directive came with a timetable as to international students writing exams, which we thought was out of place in relation to the kind of engagement that needed to have happened before, even if we were going to consider any concession from them on the basis of the said peculiarities, then of course we could engage that.
So is there a resolution on that then? Is there a resolution on that now?
Well, of course, the point is that once we had not responded to management on the basis of our engagement with NEC as well as other campuses, that is the basis upon which this release has come from management, which suspends the process. And so we are glad that at least on the basis of the current action that is ongoing, it was as though UG-UTAG was engaged in some activity that would seek to divide the front of UTAG in relation to the fact that we have suspended or withdrawn teaching and related services. And so it comes as a relief based on the fact that management certainly, I'm sure, realizes the error that was made in the directive that came without recourse to our consultation.
You appear very resolute on this issue, and today you were in court. The court slapped you with a 3,000 cost for failing to file the proper processes and essentially wasting the time of the court when the issue was called today because you were not ready. But then the judge had an advice for you to settle the issue out of court. Will UTAG heed this advice?
Well, it is not for UTAG to take the decision because the person who went to court would be the one to withdraw the case from court and to ask for out-of-court settlement. It's NLC that went to court, and we filed to set aside the plea that they had sent to court. And so, for us, if it is the will of government through NLC to settle the matter out of court, that is open. We are open to that engagement, and most definitely that we would have to be going back to the court on Thursday, at which they would indicate the idea that they want to settle it out of court. And then we are open to that. But frankly, being in court with National Labour Commission, we can keep dragging until the Supreme Court. But what we are saying is that doesn't change the dynamic of the fact that we have to engage with government in order to get our conditions of service improved.
Absolutely, and I know you've been meeting the Labour and Employment Ministry over this. And so, whilst you're negotiating the substantive issue, why not heed the court directive? It's a court that has directed you to go back to the lecture halls. Why not just heed that and proceed with the negotiation with the Employment Ministry?
Reality is that there is no negotiation ongoing.
So what have you been meeting over then?
Let me clarify this. I indicated in earlier conversation with your platform that at the point when the Minister of Finance came to ask the question as to where we expected money to come from to deal with us, we came to the realization that there was no negotiation because they were not giving us counter offers. And on Tuesday, when we declared the strike, on Tuesday we were called to a meeting, and it also ended inconclusive. And so, since then, we've not been called by the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations to engage on any matter. Besides, we have also clearly indicated that if NLC is taking us to court, probably because somebody reported. If not, I don't see why NLC is even in court. And we cannot be in court whilst we come to the negotiation table with what mindset to come and negotiate about what. That is where we find ourselves. And since the last Tuesday, we have not been engaged by the ministry by way of seeking a meeting with us to agree on anything. So there's no negotiation ongoing.
If you say that they have not been giving you counter offers, what exactly has the ministry been telling you? Because you met several times.
Yes, we did. And of course, we had agreed on some payroll allowances, which we signed off sometime middle of June. But the critical matters of basic salary, market premium, and the non-basic salary allowances are things that government indicates it has no mandate to negotiate. The government says it has no mandate to negotiate with us. That has to be done by the public sector joint negotiating committee, which has already negotiated the base rate for this year at 4%, and I think 6 or 7% for the next year. So impliedly, if UTAG is supposed to get anything better by way of condition of service, we will have to be waiting for that negotiation committee, which usually will do its work in April. And so it will mean that until April next year, that we can negotiate. And whatever it is that the public sector joint negotiating committee gets takes effect from 2023. And so from 2018, when we tabled our documents until now, even if we have to get anything on these important elements which affect our pensions, then of course we should be waiting until 2023, which is certainly unacceptable by UTA.
But from what the labor experts have told us, there's the window of renegotiation. Have you explored that with the big umbrella body you belong to?
Which is that window?
Of going back to the negotiation table with government.
No, we don't mind. We have not walked away. We have not walked away from negotiation.
No, I'm referring to the bigger bodies, TUC, organized labor, the bodies that negotiated the base pay on your behalf, which government is saying it cannot negotiate with you as a union. I'm saying that the labor experts have told us that there's the opportunity to go back for renegotiation. UTAG is not the only one complaining. We've heard from NAGRAT, we've heard from NAT, we've heard from public sector workers and a few other, public sector workers who are not essentially happy. But I just wanted to find out from you if you have communicated with these leaders and what the feedback has been from them.
No, it's obvious that many of the worker unions have indicated their displeasure with the 4% that was given on base pay. And if leadership cares and leadership knows that this is not acceptable by general membership, we don't need to individually write to the TUC to say that we disagree individually before. The expectation would be for them to show leadership by inviting unions to get together and then to say that on the basis of ABC, let's think of renegotiation or something. I don't think it is okay for every union that has issues to go back. And in our case, what we are saying is that these are not even new negotiations. We're saying these were agreed standards at which we operated. And we have lost value by virtue of a number of economic indicators that have happened, and which we've done actuarial analysis and shared with the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations and Minister of Education.
Very well. Dr. Nkrumah, kindly hold the line for me. We're joined by the President of Vice Chancellors Ghana, Professor Okoamate. Prof, we're grateful for your time here on Top Story. I'm told you just took over, as president. This is what you are met with, unfortunately. How have you been dealing with this issue from your end?
Thank you, Ernest.
Yes, sir.
The small matter is that I'm not the president. I'm the chairman.
Chairman, thank you very much for the correction. Yeah.
Thank you, Ernest. So, Vice Chancellor Ghana have been part of the negotiations from day one. Indeed, just last week, on the Sunday, we met the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, the Minister for Education. We've also met Finance and all of that. So, we've been engaging both parties. And for UTAG, of course, all Vice Chancellors are members of UTAG. So whatever suggestions we make, of course, if we are saying that UTAG will not be, they are not going to be disadvantaged. We are making all the efforts so that they will call off the strike. Let me use this platform to say we understand the issues. I want to appeal to UTAG to call off the strike so that we get back to the table and discuss the issues. We want to join government and what the judge has said and appeal to them that they call off the strike. One, because of our students. I mean, we know what they are going through. We know the pandemic we are in. If you ask them to go back home and in a few weeks, then you have to call them back. We understand the implications. National service is also there waiting for some of them. And whatever be the case, we still have to talk to government. So I plead with my colleagues on the respective campuses that we should get back to the negotiating table and call off the strike so we can find a solution to this. We are confident we can find a solution, which is why we are appealing to them to come back to the negotiating table.
What gives you that confidence in your negotiation with the various ministries?
As I mentioned, we've engaged government. We've also engaged our colleagues from UTAG. Whatever it is, we still have to talk. The good thing is that the government is willing to talk. The UTAG is willing to talk. So really, there shouldn't be a problem. I think the issue is about whether or not to call on a strike before negotiations or after. And we believe that to have good faith from both sides, we can bite the bullet and call off the strike, and then, of course, we have the negotiations. So that's where we derive our confidence.
Dr. Nkrumah, your response to this plea from Vice Chancellors Ghana?
Of course, they did make some intervention, and that was what led to the meeting we held on Tuesday. And the point is that they wanted us and government and NLC to go to some agreement witnessed by VCG to suggest that we agree to suspend the strike, and NLC would also do away with the court suit, and that we will get back to the negotiating table. Well, of course, whilst that meeting had taken place, the next moment we were of the view that that would happen, and the National Labour Commission boss has been on air pronouncing our action as illegal and all of that. Particularly so when we had filed to ask the court to set aside the matter. And so if there was that will by virtue of wanting to engage with us at that level, then of course the turn of events by virtue of the media reportage that was happening, particularly involving the executive secretary of NLC, it didn't give us the faith that this was a genuine offer.
You are to return to court on Friday. Should there be some negotiation before you appear in court on Friday? We can essentially hope that this will be called off.
Well, what it means is that the judge, of course, in the course of the day, advised an out-of-court settlement. And like we said, we are willing to go back to the negotiating table. We are willing to engage with government. And we are hoping this time around, against hope, that government would treat us fairly, government would treat us with respect, government would do what it has to do by virtue of sending people who have locals to engage with us and to be able to make specific pronouncements that influence decisions at the level of government. Not to send people who come to the meeting and cannot take decisions. If that happens, then of course we cannot continue like that.
I want to thank you for your time. That's Dr. Samuel Nkumban, the president of UTAG Legon. Earlier you had the Professor Oko Amate, the chairman of Vice Chancellors Ghana. That's it for Top Story, brought to you by Gassam, the nation builder, and Vodafone. Together we can. Let me say that we're built to speak to the National Labour Commission, but we're unable to get through them. When we do, we'll bring you the other side of this. Newsnight with MFR Powell comes up shortly after this.